Hey, what's good, folks? Chef London back with another video. Today, I'm giving you an episode of my podcast, The London Effect. You should definitely subscribe to the podcast. Super dope. I got thousands of listeners. It's super popular, actually, surprisingly. So, anyway, I have a guy by the name of Remi Adeleke on here. He's a former U.S. Navy SEAL, the toughest military training on the planet. These guys jump out of airplanes. They do all types of cool stuff. They blow things up. They go on top secret missions around the world. And very few people get through the training, and he's gotten through the training. He also wrote a book called Transformed, which I read twice. This book is super dope. I'll put a link to that below. He's also in the movie Transformers, directed by Michael Bay. He's in another movie directed by Michael Bay. The guy's he's doing a lot of things, a lot of big things, but he also gives you a lot of wisdom in this interview. So the audio's a little bit janky in the beginning from my end, but most importantly, you could hear what he's saying. Doesn't really matter what I'm saying, but if you could get through the first couple minutes of the interview, you can. It's pretty good overall. But you could hear him throughout the interview, which is key. Folks, really good, real rags to riches story here, like the epitome of the American dream. Somebody who could just come from another country with nothing and just thrive in America. So hopefully you guys like this. Make sure you subscribe to all my platforms, especially the podcast. All right, hopefully you like it. Peace. All right, what's going on? Welcome back. Jeff London back with another episode of The London Effect. Today we have a special guest. We have Remi Adeleke in the building.
Yeah.
U.S. Navy SEAL, author, father, actor, husband, native New Yorker.
Yeah. Bronx, New York.
I see you, brother. Thank you for doing this, Remy, man. First of all, man, I read your book. I loved your book.
Thank you,
brother. That is a great book, man.
Thank you.
And man, I'm from New York too, so like right around, we're neighbors, man. I actually, I used to live in the Bronx. I shot in the Bronx on Fordham Road. I played in the Bronx. Used to hit up Jimmy Jazz. I used to church clothes from Portobello. Everything, man. So,
what high school you go to?
So I went to school on New Rochelle High School.
Okay, my uncle was from New Rock.
New Rock, brother.
Yeah. I used to spend a lot of time out there with my uncle, and he had an Allstate right there. I forgot that main street that it was on, right across from the city building, city hall, city building.
Yeah, that's North Avenue. Yeah, man. So, and it was funny, man. As I'm reading, because I listened to your audio book. But you're a funny dude, man. And I don't know if you want to talk the jokes. Being I'm from New York, it's just like the lingo and some of the stuff that I was hearing. It was just funny to me, man.
I get that critique a lot. People say, man, I laughed, I cried, but I laughed a lot.
And so it's a great book. And another thing that I found unique about the book is like I've read a lot of these books, man. Well, quite a few. And it was probably the best description of buds that I've ever heard. Like you really delve into buds, man. And I've read some of the classic Navy SEAL guys. I've read their books, but you just delve into buds, man. I felt like I was there with you. I learned different elements of buds that I've never heard before. So yeah, man, I just want to let you know, like you killed the buds. You killed the whole thing.
I think the difference is, because I'm a writer, you know what I mean? I'm not just, a lot of other SEALs, not knocking them in any way. A lot of the SEALs are authors, but I'm a writer and an author. So I write all my stuff. So, with a lot of these books, what you have is they sit down with somebody and they share their story, and then that person takes what they shared and they articulate it on paper the best they can. Because I had a front row seat as I'm sitting at the computer, I'm writing from my memory and I'm writing what I'm feeling. I'm writing everything and stuff. I'm able to, other thoughts and other memories are coming to me. So that's why I was able to really articulate it in a way that people could feel, because I'm not dictating it to somebody and just claiming the title author. I'm a writer. I'm writing it myself.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense to me, man. So just before we get to like the story, I just want to give people a little context. Navy SEALs and the training you guys go through is probably one of the most difficult trainings in the world, right? Like very few people get through this training. So, and not very many African Americans go through this, right? So, the research, I don't know what it is now, but at the time, it was like maybe like 40 African Americans who've ever been Navy SEALs.
Yeah, I think I was like around I think I was around the 50th in the history of the SEAL team since the SEAL teams was created in 1962. But yeah, you're right. I mean, less than 1% of Navy SEALs are African American. It's not even a lot. I remember one class I was in, we started out with like 5 black dudes out of the class, and the class started with like 240 guys, right? And by the time we made it through hell, there was only 2 of us left. Wow. You know what I mean? So a lot of African Americans don't get in and don't make it through. I mean, sometimes you get a lot of classes. Most classes in a year that graduate, they won't have one African American graduate in a year. Sometimes SEAL training will go 2 years before they see an African American graduate. So it's a tough program.
Yeah, definitely, man. So, you just tell the people your story, man. Like where you grew up, because you have a very unique story, and then how you ended up in New York, and then how you just a snapshot of how you came up.
Yeah. So I was born in Africa. My dad was a well-known Nigerian engineer, philanthropist, businessman, jack of all trades, and because of his success, I was born into wealth. So we had it all. We had cars, nannies, drivers. We lived on a compound in Africa. We lived on an island in Nigeria called Victoria Island, which is kind of like the Beverly Hills of Nigeria. And so essentially that's what I was born into. But unfortunately, the Nigerian government is very corrupt. Historically, they've been corrupt and they still are. And long story short, they stripped my father of all of his assets, and when he did that, we went from rich to poor. And, my dad died weeks later. I don't want to give it all away because people could get the whole story in the book. But so, my dad died weeks later. And when that happened, we went from, having absolutely everything to having nothing. And my mother's American. She met my dad in New York and then moved to Africa with him. But when he died, she was just like, there's no way I'm raising my kids here. And I was 5 at the time. My brother was 6. And so my mother, permanently relocated us back to New York City, where she was from. I grew up in the Bronx, Fordham and Sedgwick, Fordham Road, just grew up in the late 80s, got to the Bronx in 1987. Crack epidemic was huge at the time. There was a lot of crazy stuff going on. My mom was a teacher in the South Bronx, so she was, privy to even more crazy stuff. And now having a father, I began to search for a father in street life, street culture, hip hop, rap culture, all of that. And, long story short, I ended up getting involved in a lot of bad stuff. Started out stealing from my mother. That progressed to stealing from stores, that progressed to stealing from jobs, that progressed to selling drugs, that progressed to running high-level scams. And, by the time I was 19, I had built this massive legal enterprise where I was bringing in crazy money. And, I wanted to be a rapper and I wanted to own my own record company. So I was taking the money I was making and I was essentially, funneling it into my record company. But then, wealth from get rich quick schemes quickly disappears. Wealth from hard work grows over time. So, I ended up getting involved in a bad situation. He threatened my life. And that was my wake up call. That's when I was just like, hey, I'm gonna get out the game. And, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna just get out the game and just try to figure out figure out life. And long story short, I was eventually, led to join the military. Specifically the Navy. But when I went to the recruiter to go join, she ran my background, found out I had 2 warrants out for my arrest. I had a warrant in New York and a warrant in New Jersey. And I got up and got ready to run out the office. And she was just like, where you going? I was like, I'm getting out of here. I'm not trying to go to jail today. And she was just like, well, come back tomorrow. So I came back the next day. She had on like her dress uniform. And she was from the Bronx. She had grew up in Co-op City. And so, she was in a dress uniform and she took me to, the judges in Jersey, New York, advocate on my behalf, told him, hey, this dude, he's made some mistakes, but he's trying to turn his life around by joining the military. Is there any way we could clear his record? Both judges unanimously expunged my record. And that's how I was able to get to the Navy. And again, I say she was from the Bronx because she knew that, a lot of people are not going to give a person like me an opportunity. They're not going to try and sneak me into the Navy. They're going to just, put me on a list, because I get messages all the time from kids who are like, dude, I've been trying to join the military for years. I had these misdemeanors when I was a kid, or I made this mistake and got this little thing on my record or whatever, and no military won't take me, no branch of service won't take me. How'd you get in? Like, what did you do? Like, I've been wanting to get in. And I just have to tell them, man, I'm sorry. I just ran into the right recruiter that took a risk on me. She did something she wasn't supposed to do. And, until you find that right person, it's going to be hard. You know what I'm saying? So, she was a blessing, man. She was a real blessing to me. And if it wasn't for her doing what she did, I don't know where I would be, and that's how I got into the Navy. And, my mom, she always preached and taught excellence. When we were kids, she was always about, hey, whatever you're going to do it right, do it with excellence, go for the best. And so, I found out about the SEAL teams years earlier through a film. And so when I joined the Navy, I was just like, I'm going to be a SEAL. That's what I'm going to do. And so, I didn't have what it took. I was skinny, could barely do a push-up, 10 push-ups. I couldn't swim. I didn't have the academic scores. But when I got to my first command, which was Naval Hospital Camp Pendleton, I put the pedal to the metal, and I just started grinding, man, just create my own workouts, running 3 miles to the pool, jumping in the shallow end, trying to figure it out, run 3 miles back home, studying my books. I just put in the work. And that's what I try to tell people all the time. When you have a dream, you're going to have a deficiency as it relates to achieving that dream. Sometimes the deficiencies are going to be minor. Sometimes they're going to be major. But you will have a deficiency. If not, it wouldn't be called a dream because it would be easy to achieve. And so what I tell people all the time, when you have this deficiency, 1, 2, 3 deficiencies or more, whatever, either A, you could, say, you know what, I'm not cut out for this. I'm never going to make it. So let me choose another job. Or B, you could just do the extra hard work in order to overcome your deficiencies so you can achieve that dream. Yeah. And that's what I did. And it wasn't hard. It wasn't easy at all. It wasn't, dude. It was like an uphill battle. It was like somebody weighing 600 pounds and you tell them, yo, you gotta get down to 190 in 2 months. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, nah, that's what it's like. I'm like absolutely not qualified in any way to be a SEAL, but I need to get in the shape and acquire the proper skills to get in the SEAL training in a certain amount of time. And it was a huge uphill climb, but I did the work. Yeah. And eventually I got into SEAL training. There's more to the story, but eventually I made it through SEAL training. Ended up doing 13 years total in the military. Majority of that time was as a SEAL. Got to travel the world, do cool things, work with great people, do things that you only see in movies. Yeah. And, got out, in 2016. I had 2 boys at the time. As I shared earlier, my dad died when I was 5. And so I wanted to be home because being a SEAL, you're just gone all the time. Yeah. And I needed to be home for my 2 sons. So, I got out in 2016 and then, I didn't know what I was going to really do, but I got a phone call a few months after I got out to be in a movie called Transformers. Yeah. And then that opened up more doors. And so I did the Transformers film and then, acted in it and consulted on it. And then that, I did some commercials and then I did something else. And, and I worked on a movie called 6 Underground, that's on Netflix now. It came out in December with Michael Bay and Ryan Reynolds. And, I got other stuff in the pipe. I'm talking to a big streamer now. I might be, going out of the country next month to work on a TV show with them. So, just snowball into this film Hollywood career that I never thought I would have, and then being a writer as well, writing books and writing films now and other stuff. So it's been a crazy journey.
Yeah. So going into that, so, I own a personal training business and I talk to people a lot about transformation. And it's just not about fitness, it's about transformation, like mentally, physically. And going into the military and embarking on the toughest military training in the world, did you know you had that in you before you got to the military? Or like, did you have that confidence in yourself? Like, hey, I know I can do this.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of things that gave me the confidence. I think one big time was my mother, because my mother she was a living example of perseverance. Because when my dad died, she was left with absolutely nothing. She went from rich to poor, and she, every day I watched her, turn water into wine, and just do miracles. Like she just put in the work. She just worked hard. So for me, perseverance, confidence, all of that was second nature because I had a living example of it for 19, 20 years of my life.
Yeah.
So that's where I gained a lot of my confidence from. And then the second thing was just growing up in the Bronx, man. Like, growing up in the Bronx wasn't easy. Enduring the things that I endured, it just gave me this other level of confidence where it was just like if that old saying, if you make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, right? Yeah. So it's like if I made it through the Bronx, yeah, I can make it anywhere.
Yeah.
So that was the mindset that I had. And that's why when I was like, I'm going to SEAL training, I was totally unqualified to try out. I was like, I'm from the Bronx, I'm from New York. I was built for this.
Yeah.
I was gonna make it.
Yeah, sure. Until this day, man, every person I know from the Bronx is tough as nails.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the tone of New York City, period.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's just a tough city, man. Like you walk, people bump into you. It's just, and part of it, I like that part of it, and I think it definitely breeds character in the people. And I think a lot of people just in the hood or low income areas have that, like the foundational mindset to be successful. It's like this no fear. It's like this attitude, like, because you can't back down, right? Like if you back down from somebody, that's bad. It's like I've seen guys go into situations knowing they're gonna lose, but it doesn't matter. So it's just the principle. It's like, hey, I'm not backing down, And I think listening to guys like yourself going through Navy SEAL training, they kind of have that same mentality. It's like, hey, I don't care. I'm not going out like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And it was like, that's why when I was in Buds, man, dudes were quitting left and right, man. Dudes are crying, going to the bell crying. I'm like, I'm laughing like, yo, man, like you getting fed, like ain't nobody shooting at you, like come on, I take another beat. I can take the beatings all day, man. They used to give it to your boy, man. They used to be like, oh, there's Remy, he can't swim. Let's get him, get with him. I'm like, yo, what's up? Let's go. What you gonna do?
Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's funny. Someone just asked me the other day, he was asking me a question. He said, man, where did you get like the audacity or the nerve to like trying to start your own business or just to go online and do these podcasts and et cetera? He's like, where does that come from? And I was like, well, man, you know what? I've done things. I've proven myself to myself. I've done things in the past to give me confidence that I can do things. And it's funny, man, I just feel like sometimes people will put their own expectations of you on you. They don't know what's inside of you, and I know what's inside of me, you know what I mean? So I know what I'm capable of. So, and it's just funny. It's not a surprise to me, but it could be a surprise to someone outside of me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is just like goals, right? And it's January, everybody's on this whole trip, everybody's all pumped up, excited. 2020 is my year, I'm gonna get it. And I'm like, 6 months. Energy, but what I think people don't foresee the problems and pain that's gonna come in the way, right? Like you have a goal, you're like, hey, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go lose 50 pounds. I'm gonna stop drinking alcohol. But no one really thinks about what am I gonna do when there's a party and everybody's drinking? What am I gonna do when I'm tired and I feel like I don't think people foresee the problems that are gonna occur. And like you being in the military and going on missions, you guys break down missions and look at as far as I'm concerned, that's what I think. You look at all aspects of the mission. So
yeah, you're right.
How does that? A mission is almost like a goal to me, right? If you're in the military, you guys have a mission, a goal, and an objective. So how does that convert now you're out of the military and you have goals? Do any of those same principles apply in life?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, pretty much all the principles that I've learned, especially in the SEAL teams, apply not just to life for me, it applies to business as well. You gotta plan, prepare, execute. We had a saying in the teams, plan your dive your plan, but also at the same time, in creating that plan, you got to leave room for contingencies, because things always come up, right? So that's just a part of everything I do in my business. You know, I try to plan, I prepare. Being prepared is a huge part, right? So you talk about that person that's saying, you know, I'm trying to lose weight, I'm not going to drink, right? If their plan is I'm not going to drink, how are you going to prepare? Like, what is your contingency in the case you go to that party and there's drinks everywhere? Is your contingency, is your part of you being prepared, like, I'm going to give in? Or is part of your plan and you're being prepared is, I'm going to leave? I'm going to cut it off at the root so that temptation doesn't cause me to fall and take that drink that's going to mess me up or set me back. Or, you know, say, you know, if you're trying to lose weight and you got to go to a birthday party, you know, either A, you could say, you know what, I'm not going to go to the birthday party because I know I'm not strong enough to sit at, I don't know where the birthday party, Red Lobster's, and knock down a bunch of fried shrimp and French fries and biscuits, because them Red Lobster biscuits are good. So either A, I'm not going to even go to the Red Lobster because I know I'm not strong enough, so I'm just going to send a birthday card saying happy birthday. Or B, I'm going to go, but I'm setting these restrictions, you know, on myself so that I don't order things that I'm not supposed to order. So plan, prepare, and then execute. You know, that's something that, you know, a lot of people don't do as it relates to goals. And then another thing, you know, they teach us in the SEAL team big time in BUD/S is goal setting. You know, a lot of people set these big goals, right? And you know, like, my goal is to lose 100 pounds. That's a big goal. And guess what? When you don't reach that big goal right away, you're gonna feel dejected, and you're gonna easily give up. So what they teach us in SEAL training is eat the elephant one bite at a time. You know, set different goals. You know, instead of saying, hey, your overall goal can be I'm gonna lose 100 pounds, but your weekly goal or your bi-weekly or your tri-weekly goal should be I'm gonna lose 5 pounds. That's it. Because guess what? In those 3 weeks after you lose those 5 pounds, you're gonna gain confidence. You're going to gain a massive level of confidence, because you're going to be able to say, wow, I achieved this. I got these 5 pounds. I'm able to check that off my list. I know I could do another 5, another 3 weeks, another 5, another 3 weeks. So you're eating the elephant one bite at a time. And then as you achieve those goals, confidence is boosting, and you're gaining the wisdom to crush the overall goal. Now, let me just give you a practical example. And you know, Hell Week in SEAL training is a week where they keep you up for 6 days straight, and it's nothing but straight torture. They torture you guys for 6 days. It starts on Sunday night, it ends on Friday. And one thing that when it starts on Sunday night, it starts with a massive bang. I mean, they're shooting guns over your head. You know, there's fireworks, it's explosions, you're going back and forth to the surf. It's all of this chaos. I mean, there's tons of instructors on the grinders, like more instructors than you will ever see at one period of time, because they just want to throw everything at you. And the reason why they're trying to overwhelm you is because they're setting you up for a mental test. Because right towards the end of breakout, which is the start of Hell Week, once there's a calming period, they say, listen, this has only been the first hour, and you guys suck, and you guys doing this, and you guys can't even handle the pain that we're throwing at you, and it's only been 1 hour. Right. And you guys got 6 days. We got 6 more days of this. And the reason why they're doing that is because they're trying to put in every single person's mind, especially the weak-minded guys, is 6 days, 6 days, 6 days, 6 days. Think about the 6th day. Think about the 6th day. Think about the 6th day. And as guys begin to think, man, this sucks, and I got to do this for 6 more days, that's when guys just start quitting. I'm done. Because the first hour has been horrible. And so the guys who make it, like myself, we goal set. We eat the elephant one bite at a time. So for me, it was like, I need to get to the next evolution. So I'm getting surf torture, which is they lay you in the freezing cold water until guys quit. Then my goal in that surf torture, as I'm laying in that water shivering, is to get to log PT if log PT is next. Once we get to log PT and that log is hurting and my shoulders feel like they're about to explode, my goal is to get to boats on heads, right? Because as I achieve these miniature goals, my confidence is boosting, especially as I'm watching guys who are stronger than me and faster than me. As I watch them quit and I'm still here standing, it boosts my confidence. And so, that's something that I have to do even in my business, right? I set certain goals. My goal is to get here. I just need to get here. If I'm writing a project, my goal, let me just get to chapter 2. I can't think about chapter 25 right now. Let me get to chapter 2 if I'm writing a book. If I'm writing a film, let me just get to page 10. I just need to get to page 10 of the script. And then once I get to page 10, let me just get to the next scene. Once I get to that, let me just get to the next scene, right? And so many people they self-destruct, but they do it to themselves because they overload themselves with this massive goal without setting these incremental goals.
Mm-hmm. And so this inside game, like when you're dealing with like pain, adversity during training, like you're talking to yourself. And,
Yep.
And you do this in your regular life now, like if you're procrastinating and you're having this internal dialogue, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's just so I deal with people who sometimes struggle with discipline. And I work out maybe 5-6 days a week. I get up early, 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then sometimes somebody will ask me, "It's like, how do you do that?" I'm like, "I just do it." I don't really think about it. I just do it. I formed a habit over the years. And I'm just wondering, what advice do you have for people who struggle with discipline?
People who struggle with discipline, dang, man, that's a hard question for me. I mean, I don't deal with people who struggle with discipline because I don't work with people who struggle with discipline. You know what I mean? If somebody, if I'm mentoring somebody that's struggling with discipline, my thing is okay, what is your goal and how bad do you want it? You know what I mean? Because that's a hard question, man. Because it's like, for me, a lot of things are life and death. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if I don't do A, I will die. You know what I'm saying? I need to be working out. I need to work out at least 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody has to tell me why. Because I have, for a few reasons. One, I want to be healthy. I got 3 kids, right? That I want to see them grow up and have a family. So I need to be healthy. That's the first reason why I'm working out every day, and I eat right and I juice in the morning, all these things, because I want to live a healthy lifestyle. The second thing is, why I work out is because, when you're working out and you're fit, it just raises your confidence level. Not arrogance, but it raises your confidence. You walk around differently because you're not feeling insecure about yourself, right? And another reason why I work out is because of my job. There's certain jobs, I won't get if I don't look fit. If I'm getting, if this TV show that I've been in talks with to get hired to work on, if I'm this fat, out of shape dude, and the director's like, "Man, I hired you to train and prepare these actors and show them how to be X, Y, and Z in this TV show, and you can't even keep yourself together. Why should I hire?" Right? So, to answer your question, I think what it boils down to is why. What is your why? What is your why? Right? So if how do you get a person to be disciplined? You essentially ask them to find their why. My whys, I just listed 3 whys for why I work out. And if I don't do those, if I don't work out, then I won't be able to get to the next step of certain stages in my life. So, do you really want to have a good life? Maybe that's your why. Yeah. Do you really want to have good health? Yeah. Do you really want to be able to attain certain jobs? Yeah. Then be disciplined in those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I have these conversations with people all the time. It's not always pertaining to fitness. Sometimes I'll talk to somebody and they're aspiring to do some type of business. They're like, "Hey, I really want to do this. I work as a teacher, but I really want to start this YouTube channel. I love makeup. That's what I'm passionate about." Yeah. And, and then I'll see this person a couple of weeks later. I'm like, "Hey, how's that going?" And they still haven't moved yet. And
because they don't want it. Because that's what it boils down to, dude. For me, listen, man. All right, so for me, the way I look at things is, if you really want it, you're going to do the work. right? If you don't really want it, if it's just a good idea, and I talk about this all the time, the reason why so many guys don't make it through SEAL training, I'm talking about guys who they said they wanted to be a SEAL. Ever since I've heard of SEAL, since I was 5, 6 years old, I wanted to be a Navy SEAL, right? The class that I graduated with started with 270. Only 29 of us graduated, right? That's the way it is every class. What separates the guys who make it from the guys who don't make it is this fact. The guys who don't make it, to them, being a Navy SEAL was just a good idea, right? It was just a good idea. Oh, if I be a Navy SEAL, girls will like me, or I'll get to go on missions, or I'll get to hang out with cool, or I'll get to grow my hair out, or they have superficial reasons as to why they want to do it, right? And when you get a superficial reason as to why you want to do something, or if something is just a good idea, when you face adversity, or when it comes time to putting pen to paper, you are not going to, you're going to quit, or you're not going to move forward, right? Because all it is a good idea. Versus the guys who made it, like myself, I had a deep-rooted emotional reason as to why I needed to make it. It was a deep-rooted emotion. It's like, and mine was, I have nothing left. Right. Mine was, I have failed at everything else in life, and I can't fail at life anymore. So that deep-rooted emotional reason is what carried me through those hard times. And you read my book, so you know how many setbacks I had trying to become a SEAL. You know all of the things that happened to me. But what carried me through was, I have nothing left. I have no choice. There is nothing left in life for me to do but this, right? And so for, the example you brought up of the person that wants to start a YouTube channel, and they haven't done it, it's because they don't really want it. They don't, either A, they don't want it, or B, they haven't found that deep-rooted emotional reason as to why they want to do it. Because that deep-rooted emotional reason, it'll keep you up at night. It'll keep you from getting up from your computer. It'll keep you from hanging out with your friends and focusing on your work. That deep-rooted why will carry you through. And until you have that, it's just a good idea. I want to be a YouTuber. I want to create my YouTube channel. Yeah. Why? Oh, because I can make money. That's a superficial reason. Oh, why? Oh, because I can get more followers on social media. That's a superficial reason. Yeah. That's not going to carry you through.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I also think another reason is fear. Like I hear a lot of people, they're afraid. They're afraid of what other people will say. They're afraid that they look silly. And you're somebody that dances with a lot of fear. And, I was on a panel, somebody was asking a question, and I heard this from one of my mentors. He told me being an entrepreneur in business, it's a constant answer to fear, because it never leaves. You create something new, you release it to the world, you're wondering if it's going to do well, people are going to buy it. Is it going to be successful? So, the SEAL jumping out the airplane, doing dangerous stuff all the time. Like, what's your relationship with fear, and how do you approach it?
Yeah, honestly, man, I don't think the fear for me comes until after I've done what I was supposed to do. That's where I have most of a relation. Case in point, I finished writing a book, right? I finished writing my book, man. Then fear comes, man. How's it going to be received? What people are going to think about it? Blah, blah, blah. At this point, it's going to come out. I read the work.
Yeah.
So that's where I deal with what fear is. I never let fear keep me from doing what I'm supposed to do. But that we talked about positive self-talk, negative self-talk a little bit, but that's when it's easy for that negative self-talk to come out after you release it into the world for me. But I'm never at the point where I'm not going to try because of fear. You know what I mean? Because again, that goes back to that deep-rooted emotional reason why.
Yeah.
Because fear is an obstacle, right? So if you have a deep-rooted emotional reason why, you ain't going to care what somebody else think or what somebody else say. That's not going to bother you. We're human, so it may bother you a little bit. It might hurt your feelings. Like, oh, you going to go be an actor, you stupid. You ain't going to make it. You ain't blah, 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 blah. It may hurt you, especially if it's somebody that's close to you. But if you have a deep-rooted emotional reason why you want to be an actor, it's not going to stop you. It's not going to stop. So what it all comes back to is that deep-rooted emotional reason as to why you want to do something or achieve something. But again, for me, most of my fear comes after I've done what I was supposed to do, and now it's out of my hands. You know, and it's like, all right, let's see what happens.
There's something that I heard you guys have. It's called is it the Big Five?
The Big Four, you mean?
Four, yeah, it's the Big Four. I think you touched on some of it. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's just the 4 pillars of mental toughness. One of them is goal setting, which we touched on, eating the elephant one bite at a time. Another one is self-talk, which we kind of touched on, but there's a type of self-talk, positive self-talk. We're always talking to ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, and the talk is usually negative or it's positive, right? So positive self-talk. And then the third one is arousal control. It's a way of calming yourself down. People have different forms of arousal control. For some people it's praying, for some people it's meditating, for some people it's reading, for some people it's listening to music, for some people it's just sitting still. And then there's visualization, visualizing yourself achieve that goal, that short goal. So it tricks your mind in a way to believe that you've already achieved it. So when you go do it, you know, it's like it's been done already. So that's visualization.
Got it. Any role models, like growing up or even now? Like, did you have role models?
Like growing up or now?
So now.
Now?
In the military, while you were in the military?
I mean, when I was in the military, obviously, like guys who were SEALs were my role models. You know, this is before I became a SEAL. And then, you know, after I became a SEAL, it was like the senior SEALs or the guys who, you know, did the craziest missions or, been operating for a long period of time. Like those are the guys I looked up to, obviously. And then now it's just, man, honestly, that's a good question. I haven't really thought about it much. I mean, there's certain athletes that, you know, really inspire me, you know, because I would say, you know, what inspires me are people who do what they do, what they call to do with excellence. I'm always inspired by that. So when I see a gymnast do something and I'm like, dang, that's great, like triple, quadruple flips and stuff on a balance beam, like that inspires me. You know what I mean? When I see a quarterback, you know, like Patrick Mahomes, you know, do the things he does on the field, that inspires me. You know, and in those moments, I would say in those moments is when I find the role models. You know, because I would say greatness and excellence is my role model. You know, anybody that does that.
Sure. Do you meditate?
Yes and yes. But my meditation is mainly, you know, prayer. You know what I mean? Like for me, it's like when I meditate mainly on the Lord and, you know, just, you know, certain scriptures when I'm going through certain things in life, you know, certain Bible verses that speak to me. I'll meditate on them to help, you know, release the negativity in my mind. Or, you know, like I said, the fear comes to me when things are out of my hands. And so when that fear comes to me or those negative thoughts, that's when I'm like, all right, Lord, like I meditate on the fact that he's in control. God, you're in control. You know what's best for me. You guided me this far. There's no need for me to stress. If you don't want something to happen, it's not going to happen. And it's not going to happen for a good reason, a reason I may never understand. So I meditate on stuff like that just to keep me from going crazy.
You know, I talk to a lot of people and they often will say things to make themselves feel better. So they'll say something like, well, you have really good genetics, or your parents, well, you had 2 parents, or you're friends with this person. So if you're a successful guy, you've done some difficult things. Is there something special about you that's allowed you to be where you are today? Or are you just like anybody else?
Man, I think I'm just like anybody else, bro. At the end of the day, man, like, you know what I mean? If you'd have saw me 20 years ago, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
would not even be like, this dude's gonna be where he's at now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think, you know, it's funny. I think God worked it out that way. He took a person that was like all the way over here. There's no way this dude is gonna be able to get over here. There's like no mathematical, like equation is going to get this dude over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I get over there as an example to so many people across the spectrum and say, man, if this dude who started from literally nothing,
right.
I think that's, when I'm looking back on my story, like my dad was rich, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I got half siblings because my dad was married before he married my mother. Mm-hmm. And so he had kids with his first wife, and like all of his kids are like 20 years older than me, 15 years older than me. And all of them grew up with my dad. So they all went to boarding school in London. I mean, they all had British accents. Mm-hmm. They all like lived a rich life. I mean, they lived in big houses. And then because my dad was who he was, they were so set up that by the time they were out of college, they already had jobs and a life that could take them, where they be set for life financially, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I didn't have that, like my older siblings. You know what I mean? So, like, what I had was when my dad died, it was like we went from everything to nothing, like down to the very bottom. It's like we were stripped of everything.
Yeah.
Stripped bare.
Yeah.
In the wilderness. And it's like now I got to figure out how to get from this naked person in the wilderness back to what my dad had intended.
Yeah.
Which I'm there now. So I started from nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
So, I think it's an example to anybody, especially kids from the inner city, people who are, they against the ropes or they at the bottom. Dude, you can get it. You can achieve greatness.
Yeah.
You just got to do a lot of hard work.
Absolutely. And then, I asked you that question on purpose so people can hear that from you.
Yeah.
Just a couple more questions, man. Rapid question. What's your workout look like these days, man?
Yeah, I do circuit training, man. So I do circuit training where I'm constantly moving. And I got that from SEAL training, because in SEAL training, you're always, CrossFit was started in SEAL. I remember when they had us doing CrossFit in Buds in 2004.
Wow.
You know what I mean? This is, as a matter of fact, the dude who's like the head of CrossFit, his name is Dave Castro. He was a SEAL. He was my SEAL. He was an instructor at SEAL training at SQT, right? So CrossFit's been around for a long time. It hasn't been, I think your recording stopped, but you hear me? Yo, you there? Yo, you there? Yeah, so we've been doing CrossFit for a long time. It started out in the SEAL teams in SEAL training, actually. And so that's how I learned how to work out, was where you're doing constant movements to keep your heart rate up. And so to this day, that's how I work out. I'm always trying to do things where, I'll do push-ups and then I'll get up, I'll do shoulder shrugs, drop back down, do push-ups, drop back up, shoulder shrugs, run to the dip bar, do dips, do swings, do jumping jacks, where it's like a circuit, so that's how all my workouts are. And then, so I'm pretty much doing cardio every day of the week. And then during the work week, actually. And then I have 2 set days where it's all cardio. And pretty much what I do is I put the treadmill on 15 degrees and I just put the speed on like 3.9, 4.0, and I just go for 48 minutes. And, I'm just drenched in sweat, so that's what my workouts is.
All right. And then your diet, what type of food do you eat?
It fluctuates, especially when I travel, but for the most part, when I'm home, I juice in the morning. So I juice broccoli, kale, ginger, carrots, strawberries, and celery, and 1 green apple. And that's my breakfast. And I put pulp in there, so I'll pull the pulp out and I'll put it in there, so I have some fiber. And then, from there, I'll work out, and then I'll have a protein shake. And then I don't have my first meal until about 1, 2 o'clock. And I try to do a high protein, low carb, very low carb, but high protein and high vegetable diet. And then from there, sometimes I'll eat so much for lunch that I don't eat dinner. Yeah. So sometimes I'll just do one meal a day.
Yeah. Okay. I'm similar to that too, man. Sometimes I've done one meal per day. I like that. I've done extended fasting, intermittent fasting. That's been helpful for me too, just to stay lean. And also, I mean, it's just a job to eat so often. So when I remove those meals, it's been effective for me, man. So that's good to hear. What any morning routines? Like, are you working? Do you get up? What time do you wake up in the morning?
I'm up at I got kids, man. So I get up when they get up, which is usually between 6:10 and 6:30. And then, I get up, I make them breakfast. While I get up, I'll pray, read the word a little bit sometimes, and I make them breakfast, get them to make my juice and all of that. And then I get them to school. And then as soon as I get back, I got a 10-month-old. So my nanny comes to the house. I work from my house. I'm in my house right now, in my office. But my nanny, she'll come at 8:30. As soon as she comes and grabs my 10-month-old, I'm at the gym. So I go to the gym, work out for about an hour and 15, 20 minutes. And I'm back at my desk, take a shower. And I'm usually at my desk by 10:30 and just grinding all day.
What are you working on now these days, brother? I was listening to something that you had a devotional book you were working on.
Well, I got a few things. Yeah, I got one book. I'm working on my mother's book, okay, which is a prequel of my book. So really focusing on her journey, how she ended up in Africa and all that. And then I'm working on a self-help version of Transformed. Okay. Where it really focuses on helping people find personal transformation in their life. And so what I'm doing is, most of it is going to be all new stories. It's not going to read like a biography. It's a self-help book. But I got all of these principles I'm going to be teaching as it relates to finding personal transformation in your own life. And then I got a film that I'm shopping right now. About I can't go into all the details about it, but I got that going, and then I got a TV show that I'm probably be working on come next month for a streaming network, and so I'm supposed to be flying out the country at the end of the month to work on that.
Dope, man, that's dope. And you want to shout out your social media, your Instagram, website where people can find you?
Yeah, Remi Adeleke, Remi Adeleke, Adeleke. So I'm the same on every social media platform: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Got Snapchat, but I don't use it. And you can get my book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. All you gotta do is type in Transformed, and it'll pop up.
I'll link all that stuff in the show, folks. This is Remi Adeleke. Remi, thank you, brother.
No problem, my man. Thank you.
End the recording, and if you could sit tight 1 second. And